I love candy corn. Those lips things that you're talking about, I know exactly what you're talking about. And even like those like shitty like circus peanuts. I like those too.
Oh my God, dude. You
Anyways,
know,
I'm gonna use this as a plug to guys. I've written a cookbook. If you're interested in what my palate is, feel free to check it out.
well, I'm sure that'll sell really well in like the Midwest.
What's going on in your life? What's happening? I'm so happy to have you on here. We've only met very briefly
Yes.
backstage in Las Vegas, and we'll get into some of that stuff. But what's going on in your world right now?
Uh, I mean, what isn't? Teenage boys.
Oh, how's that? What's that life like?
It's challenging.
How old are they?
Well, one will be 15 on Sunday, and
Ooh,
then
Virgo.
yeah, yeah, and I'm a Virgo too.
Me
So,
too.
when's your birthday?
The 19th.
See,
When I,
okay. So you're September 19th.
yeah.
Okay, so he's a triple Virgo though. So
What's that mean?
he's just very anal, secretive,
Oh
and very
gosh.
but he's also got a heart of gold. Like when he loves real hard because that's what
Mhm.
Virgos do, right? So
Yeah.
but yeah, so dealing, high school now, which is because I'm a 10th grade dropout. So my high school experience, even though I was there for about 3.5 years, I only made it to 10th grade. But um, so it's just maneuvering around that kind of thing, because he's obviously got a way different life than I ever had, and both of them
Sure.
do. And then my youngest, he's a crack up, but it's basically me looking at myself in a mirror.
Mm,
So he's very
yeah.
sensitive, and he's a Scorpio too. So he's very loyal.
What are your Virgo tendencies that really shine through?
I'm so organized. I'm so clean. You can eat a 5 course dinner off my kitchen floor. You
Oh,
know, I'm I'm like that guy. Like I love to clean. I love to organize. I love to. I have like I might have a mess, but it's an organized mess.
do you
Like I
have like
know
those like big like perfectionist
I'm well, yeah,
tendencies?
well, 100%. I don't think I would be here if I didn't.
Sure,
You know,
sure, of course.
there takes a certain amount of ego. You're like to be successful. I think you're an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. It's
Just
like
constantly battling each other.
you know what I mean. It's like you
Yeah,
have to think that you're the best thing that to walk God's green earth.
sure.
And then you also think that you're the biggest piece of shit on planet Earth too. So it's like you're always wrestling with that.
Yeah.
But I feel like that therein lies like
God,
the
that's so true.
creativity comes from there. And
Yeah,
also battling with like alcoholism and stuff like that throughout my life,
sure.
getting sober really young and being able to stay sober for 29 years or
Good for
whatever.
you.
Yeah, but I mean that took a village.
Sure.
It took a city to help. But my point is that like when you kind of um come from a place where like I was, just for instance, when I was talking about my high schooler, it's like I only had a certain level of training in that. And so being a parent now, it's like when he brought girls home, a few minutes, his buddies are at the house and a couple girls come over. And like one part of me is rooting for him. Like, whoa. But the other part, I went into my partner, to Joanna. I was like, what do I do? Like, I got to be a dad here. Like, you know, yes, I'm rooting for him, but what are the boundaries? Like,
Totally. No, I
I
know. It's really like, especially as God, the world is just changing so much before our eyes. And like I watch certain TV shows and like just like different like influences and whatnot that you're like, oh my God, what are kids doing these days? Like I know like when I was younger, we were just like, people are smoking weed, maybe a little like hash, drinking some like weird liquor that we got, like peach schnapps. That was really the extent of it. No one was really getting into any trouble. But
right.
now you look at like these shows and like the drugs that are available to these kids and like they're like sexually promiscuous. And now having this like daughter, I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do with you?
Well, I think, if I had to come, if I was, listen, luckily for you, who you're married to. I mean, that's
Mhm.
pretty intimidating. So if I'm a young man coming over courting your daughter, I'm probably going to think twice before I do something stupid,
Strong point.
right? You
Strong
know,
point. Yeah.
so I mean, and it's, from my interactions with your husband, he's definitely, got a presence about him. So, not it's not that scary to me, but I understand that like if I was walking in there and you know, I would probably be a little bit intimidated. Like I'm hoping if I ever have a daughter,
I
you
feel like
know,
you would have that air about you as well. You look like somebody that nobody really wants to with, I would say.
well, thank you. I think. Um, but yeah, I feel like over the course of I'm 51, so I just had my birthday on the 30th. So I
Happy
just turned
birthday.
51. Thank you. And I feel like I've, as a result of like, a couple divorces and a now in a relationship that's truly has that real intimacy. I feel like that's helped soften me to a certain degree.
Mhm.
And that is the thing that I feel like it's the biggest change in my life. I don't necessarily know. I mean, I would always hear that age slows you down or mellows you out. It hasn't really slowed me down, but I feel like with the right person, it can mellow you out. And you start kind of, as the older that you get, because like you're talking about, these guys, the kids now, fentanyl's in every
Oh
thing,
my
right? So
god. Yeah.
when we were kids, it was like smoking weed, peppermint schnapps or peach schnapps or whatever, maybe a bottle of port wine that you stole from your grandma,
Yeah, I'll show you a
you know.
hangover. Give me some peach schnapps and let's throw it back.
I mean, we were
God.
drinking like those $2 bottles of Wild Irish Rose and Night Train and just, the rot gut that would come and then eating
Oh
7
my
Eleven chili
god.
cheese dogs at 3 in the morning or whatever
Rotten.
is
Terrible. What a
bad.
life.
Yeah. And, but yeah, so I mean, I feel like that what they're facing, especially with like the social media and the cancel culture and just like
Yeah.
all this other
Everything's on
shit.
the internet. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a very vocal minority that I feel like is, creating this environment where everybody thinks that they have to like sort of adapt to these. Like I said, I'm 51. I'm a child of the 70s, so I'm a latchkey kid. So it was a completely different
What does
experience.
that mean
And
to be a latchkey kid? What is that?
well, latchkey is like we had a key to the house because our parents were at work.
Oh, got
So,
it.
so you used to wear it as a necklace. You get a little piece of twine and wear your house key around your neck.
Okay. Okay.
So, I mean, latchkey kids. It's a term, because both of your parents. Well, in my case, it was just my mom raising two boys, but we were sort of had to fend for ourselves. So, from the time in the morning we'd go to school, then you had all day till 5:30 or 6 o'clock when mom got home, and you were doing some crazy shit or getting into some crazy things and
Mhm.
experimenting. But I feel like the experimentation back then, it's just my experience. Obviously, it was a lot different. I mean, my first consequences. I was 11 when I first got thrown into juvenile hall, and
What'd you
that
do?
was, it was breaking and entering, and it was cruelty to animals because I was high on PCP, and this dog kept barking at me. So there was this gum that just come out called Tidal Wave gum. It had like a liquid center, and
Mhm.
I had the green apple, and I put the whole pack of gum in my mouth, and then I wrapped the chewing gum around the dog because my thought was the dog would be trying to bite the chewing gum off his fur as opposed to barking at me and giving
Right.
me a really bad trip, which it
Mhm.
it worked. And then I was very violent to another human being in that scenario, and I got another charge on me. But
Oh,
I sort of took his eyeball out of his head.
stop.
I think they call it mayhem.
Oh
But
my god.
yeah, I mean, I was a very crazy young guy. I mean, I'm from Danish descent, so I'm a Viking,
Oh,
but
I would love to get into some of that.
I think that, my mom was a World War II survivor, and she came to this
Right.
country in 60. She came in 60 and then came back for good in 61. So she had experienced a lot of craziness, she'd seen things that none of us, thank God, won't have to see,
Yeah.
and experienced at a very young age, 4 years old, 5 years old, watching atrocities and things. And I
Yeah.
and I feel like that maybe the household was different. Not only one because it was my mom was European, right, and my dad was out of the picture by the time I was 3.
Mhm.
So the culture inside our house wasn't like your typical American, candy corn culture. So
Candy corn, candy stripers, what
yeah,
have you.
yeah. So so I think that, we celebrated Christmas on Christmas Eve because of the winter solstice. It was pagan. It was there was the true, before the Christians hijacked all the Santa Claus and all the holidays and made it Jesus's birthday and all that stuff.
Sure,
So
sure. You guys have the Krampus. Oh, that's German,
yeah,
right? That's German.
well, it's
Yeah.
German, but I mean, Santa Claus is Odin, and the only reason
Yeah.
why we have Santa Claus is because of the Coca-Cola company. So, that's a whole made-up thing, just like Valentine's Day or anything else, right? So,
Sure.
I feel like just having that sort of experience growing up and being in that sort of a sort of environment, I sort of looked at the world differently. I had a lot more compassion, for like, I didn't see race, like I didn't really even know that was a thing until later on, like,
Mhm.
because I grew up with blacks and Vietnamese and Tongans and Samoans and Mexicans, and we were all poor, so it didn't. Can we swear? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, have at
Okay.
it.
So we were all poor, so we had that in common. And I think the only thing that, when we settled our differences, we went to each other's houses and said, meet you at the 10 bark in 5 minutes. And then we settled
Right.
our differences and then we moved on.
And now we live in
It's
a world where you can't do that.
to deal with certain things the way I would deal with them now is like kind of frowned upon. And I think in some respects it's good, but you're also taking away the ability of somebody to, men and boys in particular, and this is just from my experience, and since I am one, and I feel like I have a PhD in it, but I think we have to express ourselves very physically. That's how we sort of establish boundaries for ourselves. Some of us are more gifted physically, some of us are more gifted mentally, some of us are gifted spiritually.
Well, there's also
And
something to be said for having, you get in a tussle with somebody, you've got your issues, and then you've kind of sorted through it and you move on.
yeah, but I think that there's a generation that aren't that. They
Yes.
see, because they're the generation that talks shit behind a computer screen, so they don't think that there's going to be any
They don't get punched in the face.
right. And once they do, that's such a foreign thing, and that they react in a way that um, it. I just would say it's not a way I would react. I mean, I've been beaten up. I mean, and had my nose broken 18 times. I've been stabbed. I've been
Oh my
hit with
God.
the back of the head with a baseball bat. I've had all these consequences, but I also put myself in those positions, right?
Hmm.
Or I was defending, something or whatever it was. And I walked away from those things, thank God, with my life. But also, I learned a lesson. Like, maybe I'm not going to go up to the 6'5", 300-pounder and say, "You're a douchebag. Let's go." I used to have this theory that if, because and it was all about not wanting to connect with people, right? Because I was always afraid of that sort of intimate connection with people. It's like I would go to that. I was the guy that went to the big guy at the party and like would start some shit with him, right? And it worked out basically maybe 50% of the time. Sometimes the guy would have a
That's
glass
not a
jaw.
bad average. That's not bad.
Well, this only happened a few times
Okay.
because I learned my lesson. My point is that I would maybe, try something with them and maybe he would back down because of my previous reputation, or maybe I would get a lucky one in and he had a glass jaw and fall down. And then I was the crazy guy, right? Or either way it works. So if I'm fighting the guy and I win, I'm the crazy guy. If I fight the big guy and I lose, I'm still the crazy guy, right? So,
Yeah.
and I'm still like putting that, boundary between me and everybody else. Like, you can't get close.
Do you still
Did
get
you think
scrappy with people?
I have a tendency to do that? Like, if my friends are in danger, or my children are in danger, or my girlfriend's in danger, or if I'm in danger, yeah, I can flip on a switch. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm definitely not as quick, you know.
I
And
mean, at 51, I feel like you're running a tight ship over there. I think you could settle it
well,
down. It's good to
yeah,
see.
I probably, but see, I'm not like a clean guy.
You're a dirty fighter.
oh yeah, I don't I don't think that there's rules,
I'd be a
you know.
dirty fighter too, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean,
Sand
I
in the
think
eyes,
if you're handing
fireballs.
me if you're handing me, if we're gonna scrap and you're handing me a pair of boxing gloves, then I think, okay, there's some parameters here. We're gonna have some boundaries.
Sure.
But if like you're coming at me, whatever I can grab and whatever I can use, I will do it.
Fair
I
enough.
mean,
Hey, survival.
right? You
Survival.
know,
It's what we
and I
do.
think, yeah, and yeah, we'll see. That's the thing. We're men are hardwired to procreate and survive. That's in our DNA, and that's just part of the evolution of being, or not the evolution. It's just what we are as human beings. That's what we have to do. We have to procreate and survive, keep the
Yeah.
species going, and eat. Right?
That's what we do. That's how we move on. What
Exactly.
what Danish traditions do you still hold on to?
Christmas for sure. Actually, last night I just made fricadella, which is like a Danish meatball, because
Okay.
the kids will eat it. And it's basically, so I still got my mom's recipes. My mom, was a great cook, and I still got a lot of her cookbooks and stuff.
Oh, that's
But
awesome.
yeah, so I made it last night for us, and you have it with the red cabbage and all the other stuff. So, and I try to kind of, and fortunately for me, my partner is really into it too, and she loves the tradition of it all. So, I mean, she's from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, right? So
Okay.
she's from, she's from the East Coast, but she's very spiritual and she's very connected. She's a Pisces, so she's out in the ozone a lot. But
I never really thought much about our like star signs all that much, but the older I get, I'm like, I am a Virgo.
yeah,
God,
yeah,
so anal retentive about things. And I'm like, oh, I'm so
straight up.
carefree. Everything's fine. But then I'm like, no, I'm not. Nobody touch anything.
If you would only listen to me, your life would be better. You know
Oh
what I
my
mean?
God.
you know?
John could come up here and give a whole like tutorial on what it's like living with me. Shit.
Yeah. But you know what?
Goodness, man.
Yeah, but we love hard and we're
Yeah,
loyal as you know what I mean? And
absolute.
so, but but Christmas for sure, we always celebrated on Christmas Eve. And that's something that's been in my family since I can remember. It's more about the winter solstice
Okay.
for us. And I don't
You
really
guys do
I
presents and everything Christmas Eve? The whole
yeah,
shebang?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's when most Scandinavian countries do it, because it's
Yeah.
about the winter solstice. We're talking about, the original religion is paganism, right? So
Hmm.
it's like some of those ideas and those ideals still kind of hold true for me, because I never was really a Jesus guy or a Buddha guy or whatever, I wasn't, that's not
Sure.
really my trip. My trip has always been about, the earth and it might sound borderline hippie-ish, but it's,
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Actually, I do feel the same. It's I'm with you.
like
So
if you think of,
hippie out, my brother.
well, I mean, it's, for me, it's all about finding a power greater than myself. That's not me. Uh, and you can see that the earth has prime examples. I mean, you can't go and stop the waves crashing in on the
Hmm.
shore, right? You don't have that
Yeah,
power. So there is powers greater than us, the wind, you know, the forest, the trees, there's a lot
all
of
of
things
it.
out there, that
Yeah,
shows
yeah.
us that we are very insignificant, yet we think that we are so significant. And I'm not really afraid of death. I mean, I think that's more of a Christian thing, so it's about life and life and life and
Yeah,
life. And, and it's kind of like, that's not really what I've subscribed to. I'm
yeah.
not really religious in that sense. I mean, religion all really basically means is getting back in touch with one's roots. And so but I'm not
Sure.
also the type to begrudge anybody on their spiritual beliefs. Like I don't,
Oh,
I,
totally.
I really good. I'm a California boy. I don't give a who you sleep with, who you want to pray to. And, I don't, that doesn't matter to me. It's
Yeah,
never mattered to me.
yeah, yeah. Agreed. Listen, I want to talk a little music with you.
Shoot.
Obviously, duh.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk vinyl.
Okay.
You obviously have a great collection. I've seen it on your social media when you're pulling some records out and whatnot. What for you goes into a great vinyl? Is it when you get these exclusive editions that come out in great colors? I always refer back to Jack White's solo album that he put out that had like all the little secret inlay tracks. There's like the little
Sure.
angel hologram that flies around on it. What's some really like special stuff that you've stumbled upon over your years?
Well, you know, when I first started listening to music and consuming music, it was vinyl, right? I mean, that was the sort of the way that you did it. And, you know, you had to be sort of upper middle class to have like an 8-track player, you know, and those things were shitty because, you know, they would flip over halfway through a song. So you weren't getting the full experience.
Yeah.
But I always loved bands who could make records. It wasn't about singles. It was always about records. And, you know, fine examples of that were like, I'm going to just say AC/DC. They were definitely a record band. Like you listen to the record from start to finish,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like it was taking you through a journey, a musical journey. Let's say most of the records I gravitated to were solid from start to finish. And as a musician, when you make a record, I always envision it on vinyl because that's the first way I learned how to listen to music.
Yeah, we're not skipping songs here.
No. So, and that's one of the things that you can do with CDs, and, you know, you used to be able to do it with tapes, you know, I think that was the first, or you just pick up the needle, right? But what attracts me now, what I love is I do love limited edition kind of stuff. Like I do find that attractive because I'm a record vinyl guy, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, so the more colorful it is, great. If it's a different packaging with maybe more content, it's great. It doesn't necessarily need to be more music, so to speak. But if you leave the original recording intact, that's going to always attract me. And then maybe you give me something extra on a different piece of vinyl, that's going to also attract me. Like I love Motorhead stuff. Like Motorhead's like my favorite band, right? So they've been putting out like these box sets that get like very intricate with pictures and stories and different kinds of shit. And I'm just like a sucker for that, right? Like Motorhead, you had me at hello. I'm gonna pretty much buy everything and consume everything that comes out, and I'm that target market, right? But there are other bands that I'm like that with too. Kiss might be one, AC/DC might be one. You know, any kind of punk rock stuff that I've fallen in love with over the years, and you know, because
Mm-hmm.
that's been like, you know, my thing for obviously like 4 decades. But
Yeah.
you know, so like I'm always going to be attracted to stuff, to good music, and I feel like regardless, it's not, you know, I will, if I'm at a record store and I see that it's on red vinyl, I'm probably going to grab that one as
It's
opposed to
hard
the
not
black
to.
vinyl.
It's hard not to. Yeah.
It's just a thing, you know. And I'm that consumer. Whatever research they did, Lars Frederiksen, I'm sure, was part of it. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, if Lars is gonna buy it, then we need to do this color.
Slap
You
some
know,
red on it.
yeah.
What is the best thing that you found in like one of the dollar bins when you're just like crate digging?
Oh shit. I found a lot. See, this is the thing. It's like when I always go to the crates when something's out of style. That's the key. So if I want to go for old hip hop, then I'm gonna go when I know I can see when the market's going doing this, whatever. I know I'm gonna find a Public Enemy record for $5.
Sure.
That's not the case right now. Any Public Enemy record on original pressing is gonna be 50, $100,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I know that I'm not gonna find that in the dollar bin right now. You might be lucky, you know, in Sandusky, Ohio, you know,
And they
going
did
to,
not get the memo.
right, and Bill's Thrift and blah 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 is going
Yeah.
to have that copy of, you know, that record, you know. So I always try to go, and when I do, but I found like I found a Rose Tattoo is another one of my favorite bands. Their first record, it's got Nice Boys Don't Play Rock and Roll on it, and the original pressing I believe was a gatefold sleeve,
Oh wow.
and I bought it for 50 cents at a record swap, and this was 25 years ago. But I did that the gatefold sleeve, for whatever reason, with as much world traveling, which is I've been to every record store that I think some of that are not even there anymore.
Ooh,
This
best
record,
city for records.
what's that?
Best. I'm
Best.
asking. Yeah, for you.
Oh, my biggest scores have been in Cincinnati. Actually, there's a little records.
Really?
There's a little record store underneath that club there. Or at least there was. What's the name of the club in Cincinnati?
I think there's one called like I don't know because I've not been to any of them yet, but I know that
Well,
there is one with a little cred behind it.
yeah, well, there's one that's underneath the club. So there's it's like 1,000, 1,500 seater venue on top. And then you have to go, there's like and through either way you can get, there's like a little street here and it's like underneath it. But anyways, I found a lot of scores there. I forget the name of the record store.
I'm gonna track
failing.
this down.
But there's been a few, like 1234 Go Records in Oakland, California is an amazing record store. It's got everything and they're very helpful. They're super nice guys that grew up in the scenes and they're not like elitist hipsters or
Yeah,
something
that
like
can
that.
be a little intimidating sometimes. And you're like, ooh,
Those guys.
I know
Guys.
it's the worst. Let me pick
It's
out
like
something.
take your 1800s era mustache and get on your 10 speed off. Yeah.
God.
But with your $9 matcha latte and your $20 avocado toast.
Yeah, kick rocks.
But anyway, that's not my trip. But anyways, so Cincinnati, there's a good one. I always go to 1234 Go Records in Oakland. It's a great one. Amoeba here in San Francisco is great. I'm trying to think. There's a few in England that I've gone to just recently in Camden, but I can't recall their names. It's kind of like one of those things like where you just kind of Google it on your phone. You're like, where's the record store? Or where's the comic book store? Or where's this store? Or whatever, because I just, when you have a day off, you've traveled, obviously, what's up. And so it's like you have a day off and you want to go kill the day off. You just kind of go find something and go get into the shit.
Yeah, pick up a little something. Yeah, I love finding a good soundtrack album. I don't know why I love those so much, but I always gravitate towards them. And every now and then you just get some real good gems. I love them.
Well, there's a great soundtrack, and I forget it's got the song "Memo" from Turner. It's Mick Jagger. I'm not sure if it's a Stone song, but I forget what the name of the soundtrack is. But I want to say Mick Jagger might have, but it's this incredible song called "Memo" from Turner. It's like the slide guitar thing, and he's got killer lyrics, whatever. Maybe it's the Performance. I think there's a record or movie called The Performance. But you might actually really like it. If you like soundtracks,
I would love them.
Then you might like this record, and it's worth the money just for the song "Memo from Turner" or "Memo to Turner." I can't remember the exact title, but that's the reason why I got the record. And then I just for that song, and then as I was listening to the record, I was like, "Well, this is actually pretty cool."
Yeah. Most ridiculous amount of money you've spent on a record, and what was it?
Oh, Jesus. I know it was about $500, and it was on a 7-inch, and I want to say it was for a very rare boy record. It could have been the Bleach Boys. I've spent like $150 is about as much as I'll go, and it must be something I really, really want. But I bought some bootlegs for $300-400. Like some Motorhead bootlegs I've paid that much for. Like I don't mind paying that much for bootlegs, but like see, that's the thing. There's a great chance I probably have one of those records that I would be paying that much for. But I do remember paying a lot of money for that 7-inch. But I also had a lot of disposable income. That was before kids, so
yeah, he was like, yeah, I want it. Who cares? I did that with the Neil Young on the Beach record. I really needed it. Actually, I will say John bought it for me because I was like, I really want this.
Nice.
And we were like courting at the time, so he was trying to like,
oh yeah, my
seal
man,
the deal.
Yeah,
it worked. Turns out it worked.
Yeah,
I think I also did like 100. It might have been 150. I found it's like a 4-part Alice in Wonderland vinyl that's like really cool. It's like in the whole like box set, the books in there, and then like I couldn't not buy it. But really special.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the way that they're packaging records now. It's pretty freaking cool, and especially the box sets kind of stuff, because you can get it all right then and there, and then it's also a new pressing of these old records, so you don't have to play your old records anymore. Sometimes static happens to these records, or skips or pops, and that's also part of the experience too. But sometimes just to have a cleaner version of something is pretty cool.
So if somebody is taking, let's say, $100 We'll give them 2 if we feel like being generous, depending on what the album is, and then I'll stop talking to you about albums.
Okay.
Someone's going into, say, Amoeba. What are they buying to build their record collection? You're starting from scratch. You just need like a bit of a foundation. You're buying, say, 5 records. What are you getting?
Well, if you got $100, you're not going to be able to walk out of there with 5 records anymore.
That's why I bumped it up to 2. We'll bump it up to 200.
Okay, 200. Well, if it's punk rock or this kind of music, I would say you cannot leave that store without some sort of GBH record. You got to buy a Motorhead record, preferably one of the first 5 records. So I'd hope you would have your phone so you could Google their discography.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that you would definitely need something from one of my bands for sure, just because, I need to make money and feed my kids.
Yeah.
So I would say that you would need, to understand where it all truly comes from, I would say buy a Jam record, buy maybe All Mod Cons, or, get something like that, because that kind of fits into it too. Because then you have Motorhead, you have GBH, you have something that I've done, you have the Jam. And then maybe lastly, what I would say is I would go get a Trojan record sampler, preferably from the 60s, late 60s. And then I think you would understand where this music, how it all works together.
Okay.
Whether Paul Weller was taken from the punk, Motorhead obviously was like inventing the shit, and GBH is personified to this music and what it is today. There wasn't GBH and Motorhead, there never would have been Metallica, Slayer, Exodus, Green Day, But I think you also need to throw in a little ACD. I remember when I met Lemmy the first time, and it was at we played this thing, the K-Rock show. It was called the Weenie Roast. I want to say it was 1995. So yeah, it was 95. And it was before, I want to say, it might have been right on the heels of Outcome of the Wolves release. And I met Lemmy for the first time. And he was wearing his little Daisy Dukes and a little vest. And I went up to him and I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that I'm a huge Motorhead fan. And I've listened to you since I was 11 years old, or 10 years old." And he goes, "Name one song that's not Ace of Spades." And I was like, Metropolis, Bomber. And he's like, okay. I understand, because, obviously everybody knows him from Ace of Spades.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Listen, I got Rose Tattoo, which is an Australian band, that band I was talking about, tattooed right here. I'm going to put the Motorhead skull, War Pig over here." And he just looked me dead in the eye and said, "You better put AC/DC on your navel." So telling me to get an AC/DC belly rocker tattoo. So
did you do it? Did you follow through?
No, but I do have AC/DC on my leg.
Okay.
That was, because for me, it went
belly
Kiss.
Button tattoo is pretty risky.
Yeah, but I have something there, but I have like a burning Viking ship, and then some old stuff that's there, old affiliations. Yeah, I think that Kiss was the very first band I ever fell in love with. I was when my mom and dad got divorced. My mom took me and my brother to Denmark, and we had an older cousin, Karen, and she loved Slade and T-Rex, Chicory Tip Mabel, Sweet, all the glam stuff, right? And a lot of the stuff from the UK, like the British Invasion kind of stuff. And well, maybe a little bit after, more of the glam shit. But I think T-Rex might be part of the British Invasion, but it doesn't matter. So when my brother brought home Kiss, like, it was no shit why I loved it so much, because that's who they were. Kiss was trying to be Slade, their music. If you listen to them, they're trying to be Slade. And so that was my first love. And plus they were theatrical. It's why I love pro wrestling so much, I think. It's because I loved Kiss, because the theatrics of it, the drama, the storytelling of, the spaceman and the love child, star child, and the demon, and the pussycat, and I loved cats. So Peter and Ace were always my favorites. But my point is, it was like something that you could just really dive into. It was like there was substance there. It was there was psychology to it all,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like great pro wrestling, really.
I remember I went and saw Iron Maiden once, and I was like, wow, this feels like a pro wrestling show too. The way that they come out and just like they light up that stage. They've got like the jet there, the whole shebang with everything that Iron Maiden does. That felt very pro wrestling to me.
Well, that's one of the things, and I've said this over the years. Um, the only reason why I've been able to communicate to the crowd is because of pro wrestling. The way I write a set list is kind of like the way I see it as a match. It's like you got an hour long Broadway, but you got to bring people to peaks of value. You got to come out, hit them hard. You got to lock up, you got to punch, you got to go back and forth, and then you got to slow them down. You got to get on the mat. You got to start getting
Put
into
them in
some
a hold.
submissions.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you got to do your high spots, time bomb Ruby Soho, and you're going home. You know what I mean?
Great.
So
Everything is wrestling. Everything is wrestling.
For me, the drummer Brandon, he goes, everybody says, some people are like, this trapped in sun. He's like, you're not a punk rocker, you're not a skinhead, Lars. You're a pro wrestler trapped in a punk rocker's body. and it's like, yeah, you're kind of right, because that's the way I see things. I've never, I've stepped foot in the ring. I've been a manager. I've done those things in wrestling. I've promoted. But I feel it's just always been my first real love. I love the whole thing about it.
Yeah, no, I want to talk some pro wrestling with you. I want to talk your relationship with Punk. I want to talk Ruby Soho, all of those great things.
Sure.
What was your first kind of peek into the world of pro wrestling that made your heart go pitter patter?
Well, there was a gentleman that moved into our neighborhood, and his name was Andy Finney, and he was from Detroit, Michigan, and he used to go to Cobo Hall and watch the Sheik and in Detroit. And when he moved to California, I remember it was about 1982, and the punk rocker in the neighborhood was Sean Gregonis, who lived next door to him, and that's how we kind of got all into punk rock. But Andy was like 20 something. My mom really liked him. He was a really good guy. He always looked out after us young guys, because my brother by that time was 16, 17, and I was, a little younger. No, maybe he's more like 15, 16. So I walked into Andy's house one Saturday morning at like 10 a.m. and what was on the TV was, I think it was WWF. Mm-hmm. And I just sat down and I said, this is amazing. Like I just remember thinking, wow, this is freaking cool. These guys are like, I don't remember it making a conscious, what I'm about to say wasn't conscious, but they were like superheroes, right? They were like cartoon characters, but they were also like these super badasses, right? But I didn't make like the connection, like it was a superhero. But at being that age, I was reading comic books, and maybe that's what the connection was. Hindsight's 2020, and that's it. But we were lucky to have like AWA had a TV show, WWF had a TV show. We had Big Time Wrestling at one point. So maybe this was 81. It could have been 81, 80. So, but that's the first time I was 10. So it was 81. So that's when I first kind of saw it on TV. And then I went to my first matches maybe a year and a half later.
Hell yeah. I feel like the San Jose area's got some really like good stuff going on over there too.
Yeah. I mean, we've always had really cool independent stuff.
Yeah.
They've always brought in the lucha stuff like AAA and CMLL did shows here. I've seen Polynesian Pacific Championship Wrestling. That was High Chief Peter Maivias. And I remember their champion was Lars Sanderson, and just having a wrestler by the name of Lars, I was so stoked. And we would get their TV on the UHF channel. And then you had Bill Watts with Mid-South, you'd get that. And I always loved how they left you on like a cliffhanger. You know what I mean? It'd be like one man gang versus, Terry Taylor or something. And then all of a sudden
the rooster, baby.
Yeah, the blood would be flying, but then they would cut. We're going to finish it up next week. Jim Ross on the call. And the most exciting, my dream is to have Jim Ross like call a Rancid show. Like that would be
like you could probably make that happen.
I probably could, but and it was the commentating. It was everything. It was the, and then getting, World Championship Wrestling, NWA stuff when cable TV happened. That was a game changer, right? Because now I was seeing, like, because Andy had stacks of wrestling magazines, And so I was seeing these matches, Ric Flair, who's Dusty Rhodes, who's Ric Flair, who's Harley Race, who's Wildfire Tommy Rich, who are these guys, right? And it's not like you had the internet where you could just go Google it. It's like you read in the magazines, or seeing Hacksaw Jim Duggan or the Sheep Herders, and they're just bloody messes.
No one gets a bigger pop than Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Anytime we would do Hall of Fame and everyone's kind of filing out and people are finding their seats, every time he walks out, the entire arena is like, oh,
of course, man.
10 minutes. It's great.
Yeah, totally. And so, and then, that was kind of the catalyst of it all. And then as I started consuming, then I started like taping TV shows. And then the tape trading thing happened. And that's where I met Tony the first time.
Really?
Yeah. So he was on a Death Valley Driver, which was like a blog.
Yeah.
And it was, shit, I can't believe I'm, oh God. It was, I met Will Helmick through there. I met so many people through that. My friend the Birdman was on there. He was called the Bat Boy there. But it was like, and people would share matches, and that's how you would find out. And then the tape traders, they would have lists, and you would order, and you would ask for certain matches maybe you didn't see, like, seeing like the concession brawl, for the first time, being able to get all this stuff, because people had been recording it, obviously for so long.
Yeah.
And so that's really, I got into all that, and so just would consume pro wrestling.
What do you think? So you met Tony on this like chat board situation. What do you think about what he's been able to do now? I mean, creating AEW, creating this amazing alternative for people, and then going up against the things that are happening in WWE right now, which is now under the reign of Triple H.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to get tougher for Tony, because now that the product is actually watchable again, and it's who would have ever thought that Vince McMahon would not be working that company, right?
Not me.
Not me. I thought for the day, to the day he died, but what Tony's done is remarkable. I think it's incredible that he's been able to give a product the way that he has, with the talent that he has. I mean, I used to see a lot of those guys on the indies, and the fact that, watching your husband in CZW and then seeing his progression through the WWE, and just knowing that was never going to be right for him. And then feeling like now seeing him pop it in GCW here, AEW here, like that's where you want to see him. That's what kind of wrestler he is, So for him to have those types of like opportunities is, and then for Tony to like open up, and give these guys a place to work, and it's in some ways saving some guys' careers, or helping them shape their careers. Like Cody, like honestly, Cody, if he would have stayed in the WWE, I mean, I love the Stardust Goldust tag team.
Me too. I loved it, but
then it's like that hot shot kind of booking kind of stuff. It's like, here's this great team, and then a month later they're gone.
Yeah.
Or 3 months or whatever.
And we just pretend it never happened. No one talks about it. But no, I agree with you. I mean, you look at what Cody's been able to do, to leave WWE, have these stars in his eyes, be able to do what he was able to accomplish in AEW, and now swing things back the other direction. He would not be able to have the run that he's about to have when he comes back from recovery, but he wouldn't have that if it wasn't for this other opportunity.
100%. And I think that, his feud with Rollins, like that got me emotionally invested, and actually became like, I always knew that there was something in that guy. Obviously, he comes from great stock, and his brother, obviously was a superstar. His dad's a superstar. Now he's taken his place. I would always kind of wait for him. I would be like, when he's 32, that's when it's really going to be like, oh, your body's going to be bigger, because that's just what happens with gravity and age. And, and you're going to be, Cody's always been he's always brought the psychology in it.
Big time.
So, and that's important. That's a lost art, because now it's like high spot. Now you're going to go through the table, and you've gone through 6 tables, and now you're going to run the ropes. It's like,
Yeah.
why the
I want the
is this guy?
characters. I want to care about everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also in the wrestling too. It's like that's
Mhm.
one of the things, and I understand that. For me as a fan, there's different generations, and you know, for instance, that original Ring of Honor generation changed the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they brought it to a whole different level, and then that
Is that when
became the
you met
norm.
Punk?
Yeah, no, he was in. I think he was doing Ring of Honor at the time, but he was also doing. What was that called? What was that? Axel Rotten's. What was it? I want to say it was at Axel Rotten's company. It was some sort of like Midwest Kentucky thing or something. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But so I was on a Warp tour with the Bastard. So this is 2004, 2005, and one of the sound guys was friends with him, and said that we were played in Philly, and I was walking up the stage or the back of the stage to go play the show, and he was at the show, and he's walking down. He said, "You're Lars Frederiksen." I said, "You're CM Punk," and we just kind of hit it off from there. We were kind of like that, from pretty much the get go, because I think there was an understanding there. I'm obviously a little older than he is, and it's a little bit of a different generation, but it's the psychology and the mindset I think that we share, and through that's the friendship. Over the years, it's just gotten stronger, and it's cultivated into more of a family member, itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And now to bring Ruby Soho into the mix. I know you've spoken about this before, but as Ruby is making the move into AEW, everyone's so
Yeah,
excited to see what she's gonna do. This chick just kicks ass. She's so
yeah.
cool. And for her, of course, to use your song, Ruby Soho. What was like the conversations you guys had?
Well, me and this guy Dennis Farrell, we do a wrestling podcast called The Wrestling Perspective, and
Mhm.
it's more about a fan thing. It's not really like a dirt sheet kind of thing. We've had so many different people on, and when Ruby got released, she had hit me up because she wanted to do an outfit that was sort of an homage to something of mine, something I wore. She said, "Is this okay?" She hit me up through Instagram. I said, "Of course, I'd be honored." Obviously, I'm a huge wrestling fan, and I was a fan of Ruby Riott.
Yeah.
So, and I thought she was very talented, but unfortunately, in that company, the women weren't really getting it. They never really had a chance up until recently.
Yeah,
So
it's always kind of been like I don't want to say it was a start and stop, but we know who the main people were that were getting those opportunities and those
right,
pushes. And Ruby and the Riot Squad weren't necessarily those women, but Liv, on the
right,
other hand, now was crushing it. But
right.
yes.
Yes, but I feel like they weren't given the opportunities to do so.
Mhm.
And I think that when you're in a place that sort of stifles creativity, you can't really truly become who you are. And I think anybody who's been through that ringer and in that era of who was running the company and everything else will tell you that I felt stifled. I felt like I
Oh
couldn't be
yeah.
myself. Whatever. You hear the same stuff, and I'm not talking ill, but it just is what it is.
Mhm.
If 100 people, it's kind of like this. If there's more than 3 assholes in your life, there's a great chance you're the asshole. Okay, so that's kind of the rule of thumb, right? So if there's 100 people saying the exact same thing, then maybe it's true, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but so I hit her up because she had gotten a release, and I said, "Hey, listen, I know I don't really know what your situation is, but I do this podcast. It's fun. We just want to have you on. It would just be kind of cool, whatever." Because the WWE totally completely ignores us, right? They will never ever like AEW.
Oh, they ignore me too for what it's worth, and I worked there for a long time.
See, there you go. It's like they're shooting themselves in the foot because obviously they have a script. They have a script.
Yeah.
And they can't go off script, and
They've got their people they want to work with and the stories that
that's
they want
fine.
to yeah,
And
it's fine.
if I was like some 51-year-old like weirdo living in my mom's basement like with my podcast, yeah, ignore me. But I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
come on.
I've
Hey,
done
you're
a few
fucking
things
Lars
maybe.
Frederiksen, bitches.
Well, whatever. But you know what
I'll
I'm trying
say
to
it
say.
for you.
But even if they're ignoring you, then it doesn't make me feel that bad because obviously you are who you are, which is a
Yeah,
bigger superstar than I ever would be. But my
that's
point
not
is,
true. But just in that work, but because I've worked with them for so long, I don't take it personally either because I understand how they operate. I get
right,
it. No hard feelings. I understand what it
right,
is. But
right.
anyways, yeah. Give
No,
me
I
some
totally,
yes.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because you know, so she said yes, I'd love to come and do your show. It was the first interview that she had done since her WWE release. And as we were just talking shit, she's like, "Yeah, I can't use this name anymore." And I said, "Well, isn't it obvious?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, Ruby Soho, duh." You know, or I don't remember how exactly. And she goes, "You think?" And I said, "Yeah, I know a few people. Like I could probably get it done for you." You know what I mean? Because Matt and Tim always used to watch with me during the Attitude Era, so they know about pro wrestling. They know about my love of pro wrestling, and they love it themselves. They, you know, okay, they're not like me where it's like I'm immersed in it and I know who's wrestling here and blah blah blah. They're enough of a fan to know who she is and what it is. And not only that, but like I always wanted this. You know, it's like, you know, why the are you picking this band? You know, when you got the wrestling fan guy, it's like,
Yes. Yes.
you know what I'm
Let's
saying?
work with our people.
Right. So, and I have offered for another company, and I won't mention their name, but I was like, look, I can write your theme music. You know, like
Yeah.
what you're coming out with is generic trash. It's shit. It's like you're 10 years behind the curve. It's like, I mean, that's the
It's
other thing
not a
about
company
wrestling.
run by another guy for music, is it?
No, it's not. But
Okay.
it's then that's all I'll say about it. But
Okay.
they didn't want to spend the money, but not like
Yeah.
I was charging an arm and a leg, but I was like I could do this
Yeah, let's spice it up.
twice as good, you know? And long story short, I called up the band and I just said, "Hey, listen, we got a super talented, you know, female wrestler. She's great. She's gonna make waves, and I'm a fan of hers. What do you guys think?" And Tim knew who she was, and they're just like, "Yeah, dude, let's go for it. Let's make it happen."
Oh, I love that.
So, and I just called her and said, "What do we need to do? Like, what are we, you know, obviously it's got to be fair for both parties,
Hmm.
but you know, what do we got to do?" And I knew Tony was familiar. We were familiar, so I figured it was probably going to get done,
Yeah.
you know. So,
He
and
likes to
he
get
said,
that licensed music. That's for sure. I
well, but
respect it.
that's 100%. Listen, what he's doing for the wrestling business is insane. He's
Yeah.
bringing it to a whole different level that we're not going to maybe, we're seeing, you know, to some degree right now, but in 10 years from now, we're going to be really understanding what he's really doing. And I understand that people have their complaints about like, you know, and whatever, and it
Sure.
all is what it is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he's giving somebody another option. It's like Uber and Lyft, right?
Yep.
It's like you can pick which one you like and you can enjoy it. And I'm not going to go on Twitter and say Lyft,
Yeah. Yeah.
their pink sign, they're stupid. You know, it's like
Yeah.
but honestly, if it's all about pro wrestling, and I feel like what he's doing and the opportunities that he's giving these guys and ladies to be themselves and to creatively express themselves
It's
and
amazing.
come, it's awesome.
I
And
mean, I can
and
speak firsthand too from like just the difference in like literally from the time that John left working at WWE to what he's doing now. I mean, he's a different person. He's
I
a
believe
total
that.
like I can just see that creativity flowing out of him. He thinks about it so differently now because he can, because he knows that he can execute the things that he really wants to do. And it's really nice to see people be able to scratch that itch.
Right.
It's
Well,
awesome.
yeah, it is. And but it's also, it's like you know, I'm hoping, and I know that they're probably still trying to figure everything out there, but there has to be some sort of container for
Yeah.
that to be. It can't be an oppressive container
Yeah.
where there's like a, you know, sort of a dictator, right? But there
Yep.
has to be that in wrestling only because there's so many
That
egos.
structure. Yeah. Yeah.
You
For
know, you
sure.
have, if you have to have a good infrastructure, and that's
Yeah.
the one thing that the WWE maybe might have the edge on AEW is maybe in that structure and how things go, you
Hmm.
know. and I mean, I've been in both backstages in different periods of time with different wrestlers, and I will say that in an AEW locker room, it seems a little bit more spirit. It's got a lot more spirit. It's a little bit more carefree.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, you know, there, there might, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how things,
Yeah.
as we both know, a lot of things have happened,
Sure.
and how that's going to unfold,
Definitely. Okay, so because you would have a better idea, a better gauge of this, what do you think Tony paid to get sympathy for the devil?
Ooh,
Holy shit.
I don't know, but you know what? I just wondered why he didn't use Motorhead's version of it,
Mm,
because I think that's a little bit more sinister. I do believe that the Stone song it's obviously a classic song, and I think, but I mean, it's MJF, like, to have that little, well, maybe the Motorhead thing because of Triple H, maybe that's probably why they didn't do
maybe.
it, or maybe they just didn't even know that it existed. But when I saw it and he came out to it, I was like, okay, this is appropriate. Like, but that's the thing.
And with the
It's
storytelling behind the whole thing is like beautiful.
it's 100%. But that's why we tune in, right?
Yeah,
Is to get those little moments. And MJF's return needed to be that special,
agreed.
and it freaking was.
It
And
was.
he's such a talent. He's such a talent. And I know this is not. I will say this because I do know him personally, but he's the nicest dude in the world.
I know he's very sweet.
He's such a cool dude. I love that guy. And
Um,
but honestly, he's an asshole. He's a
yeah, screw
prick.
that guy's a piece of
Yeah,
shit.
But
Before I let
yeah,
you go, because I know I've had you on here for a long time and I'm picking your brain about a million different things.
it's all good.
To just bring it full circle to when I met you in Las Vegas. Now you do not seem nervous at all. You were ready to go out there and play, but you said that you were nervous.
Yeah.
How different is that? I mean, for a man that has played for so long to be able to step out in front of a wrestling crowd playing a song that they're going to sing all along to, what was that experience like for you?
Well, you are always going to have a level of self-confidence. Like, I know that I can walk into any building and do what I do, just because that's just what I do. And I'm always gonna get goosebumps. I'm always gonna get nervous, but I think that's part of the thing, And one of the things that I've learned along the way, that if you're the smartest guy in the room, then you're in the wrong room. So, which I'm trying to convey is that you're always got to be able to be willing to be teachable. And every moment that you do walk up on a stage or you do perform a performance, it is a teachable moment. And if you're not open to that, then you wouldn't be nervous.
Yeah.
That's just been my experience, right?
I agree with you on that 100%.
So, okay, first of all, we're mixing two things that I love very much, and that's pro wrestling and punk rock in my band, right? And I should say our band. So with that culmination of things, mixing the two streams, Egon, it's like you don't really know what's going to happen. Like, I don't know if I know that we're good enough to win anybody over, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. I mean, let's just face it, that's not a bad song, you know? So you don't know. A wrestling crowd can go either way. I mean, literally 2 nights before, they booed Ruby Soho out of the ring. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
they're hot and cold.
wrestling
Fickle.
fans are the same people are going like CM Punk, MJF, CM. They're like the same guys doing the same thing because
They're
it's just
speaking
something.
out of both sides of their mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they don't. But that's just like a thing that you do at wrestling. So the culture kind of has changed.
Yeah.
Wrestling fans are smarter, right? I go to an indie show here in San Francisco, and they're clapping after certain moves like they do in Japan. I'm like, I've been to the Tokyo Dome. I've been to Kurikan Hall. I've seen wrestling in Japan, all different promotions. That's part of their thing. That's how wrestling fans. But now it's here in America, right? It's like, whoa! It was like Anyway, I'm getting to a point. So I'm thinking to myself, how is this going to go over? Like, I know that people know who we are. I know that people have made the connection, whether it be through CM Punk or now Ruby Soho, or just me in general, knowing me for, or knowing the band for 30 years,
Yeah.
that we're wrestling fans, or I'm a wrestling fan. I've never made that a secret. Like, it's always been pretty worn out on my sleeve. So I'm nervous because I just don't know. It's like, that's the box of chocolates. Wrestling fans are the box of chocolates, because you don't, and especially in today's, Moxley is celebrated in Ohio and then booed in Chicago.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, in a weird way, he's a little, I mean, it can go either way, and then
Yeah.
MJF comes out in Chicago and he's getting a big, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
It's like,
Yeah.
choose a side,
It can
mother.
be it's funny to predict. Yeah. Because no, you're right. It really depends on where you are, what that crowd is. We know where like the smart crowds are. In Vegas is a weird one to predict as well, because I'm sure if you were in a Chicago or you're in New York or you're in Philly, you know what kind of a vibe you're going to get. Vegas, we're not really sure what those Vegas fans are like yet.
Well, and not only that, but most importantly, you have to remember that, like, that's a pay-per-view. So that's everybody from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So in essence, you're not just playing to Las Vegas. You're playing to Portugal,
Yeah.
England, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, Canada, Mexico. You're playing everywhere, right? So you're
Yeah.
playing to everybody. So, but I was nervous as and I was going to shit a brick. And then the worst part about the whole night for me is I had that goddamn smoke machine, which always drives me out and makes me sick. And it's literally blowing right on the side of my face. And while we're playing the song, I was just like, oh, this is humility. This is the, I'm achieving one of my dreams, one of my bucket list things. I played the Garden. I played Saturday Night Live. And now I'm doing a wrestling pay-per-view, bucket list, boom, boom, boom. And now the smoke machine is just completely
Humbling you
and humbling the shit out of me. So it's like, there's always a little bit of that too. But
Lars versus the smoke machine.
Exactly. But having my youngest there, was also a treat too, because, he loves wrestling. He loves to get a chance to see his Uncle Punk, and, he met Jericho and, and a few other guys, and Will Hobbs has known him, since he was like
the best. Yeah, he's
5
a
or
good
6.
San Jose guy. Is he San Jose, Oakland? He's out there.
He's Hayward.
Okay.
Yeah, Bay Area. But
yeah.
like, we used to go see when he was Will Power. So and that was his gimmick, and Soren really and then Will, being such a gigantic dude, was so extra courteous to Soren and so nice to him, and got down on Soren's level and communicated with him. And that, honestly, that interaction between Will and Soren made Soren love pro wrestling.
Oh,
So
I love
it's like
that.
So, and I've told Will this, but like, Will's a diamond, and
yeah, he is.
and his presence would scare a lot of people, because he's a big freaking dude. That's intimidating, especially to a little 5-6-year-old kid. But the fact that he was able to kind of level the playing field showed me that he's a real guy, and he's a real dude. And anyway,
he does that with my daughter anytime I have her backstage too. He is always over there saying hi to Nora. She's in like shy girl stage, so she won't go to anybody, but he tries every time. Eventually she will take the bait and go. But yeah, he's just the sweetest.
That's funny.
But also a beast, and he'll kill everybody.
That's right. And so, but yeah, those types of interactions, are the ones that always make the impression on me.
Definitely.
It's like, you have to take that time. If somebody's bought a ticket and, bought your record, bought your book, bought your thing, you got to take the time. I don't care what, I mean, that's the unfortunate part about, like, at some points, it's like, even if you're having a bad day, the fan doesn't know that. The kid that's coming up to you doesn't know that, and doesn't need to know that.
Because that'll stick with them for forever. If you're shitty to them, you're mean to them, they'll never forget that. Yeah,
I always try to look people in the eye, speak very nicely, and give them the courtesy of the time, because it's like, that's most important. It's not a lesson I think I had to learn, but when Tony Bennett walked through an airport with me in Las Vegas during a cowboy convention. I looked like a rodeo clown from outer space.
Cowboy convention used to kill me.
Yeah. So I'm walking through with leopard skin hair, bright mohair sweater, bondage pants, and Tony Bennett's walking right beside me, carrying on a conversation. I thought, if Tony mother Bennett can talk to little old me, looks like a rodeo clown in a cowboy convention, and walk with me to check, get our bags and whatever.
Cool.
Then and Johnny Ramone, same thing, would sit and talk with you. He might not have been, love you, might not have been like the most ungrumpy guy, but he still gave you the time of day.
Yeah.
It's like these, and it doesn't matter who you
being
are.
A person, you got to be a person. You can't like stop and not have those conversations and have those interactions. Also, that's the shit that makes, like, honestly, it makes your day better anyways. Even if you are in a mood, you stop and have an interaction with somebody, it can snap you out of whatever shit you're going through.
Right. But I understand, like MJF, like him being the biggest heel in the world. If he's an asshole to you on the street, then take that as a victory, because
yeah,
you know what I mean? Because that craft is long but gone, and I'm glad my man is still
was it Sherry Shepherd that called him out for that? Is that who it was? That was like he was mean to me at the airport, and she like called Mark Henry about it or something. Like, it was like all over the news. It was great.
Oh my God. Well, but that's that's what's working for him,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but
certainly.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'll let you get back to your day. I really appreciate you hanging out with me. I really wanted to have you on the show. Yeah, this was great. Huge wrestling fan. I'm a huge fan of yours. And yeah, just fun to shoot the shit with you today.
Anytime.
Hell yeah. Well, hopefully I'll see you at a show soon.
Sounds good.